Hi, this is the Drupal Usability meeting for November 28th, 2017. And it looks like it's the three of us for this usability meeting this time. We have a bunch of topics. Should I start, or Roy, do you want to start with one of yours?
Let's do yours, because otherwise it might. No, let's do yours. It's been on the backlog for a while. So.
Okay. So the problem, while I'm opening the issue, I will talk about the problem. So the problem is that Drupal 8 is very flexible, and that can cause some problems.
That problem again.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Who would have thought? So Drupal 8 is quite flexible, and that may cause some problems. And in this case, the problem stems from flexibility in terms of translations.
What else is new here?
Yeah, because when you configure your stuff, so this is with the patch applied, so I don't have a site without the patch, but we can ignore the feature that's being added. So when you configure your stuff to be translatable, you can say, I want my articles to be translatable, and then each field you can configure to be translatable. And by default, it defaults to everything being translatable when you check the checkbox, except files. So you would keep the file across translations, but you would translate their alt text and title for images at least. So that's for image fields. But if you want to have some stuff that is the same across all of your translations, like you would always want to promote them to the front page at once without them being per translation, or you always want to make them sticky at once without that being per translation, or you want to use the same tags on them. That's an option I chose here for testing. So you want to have the same tags on them, and you could still translate the tags themselves, but it would still be the same tags on all the translations of your article. So this is a feature that Drupal core has. The problem is that you can create various translations, and you can have those translations in different states. And some of them could be draft, and some of them could be published. And you can still make changes to the untranslatable fields. When you create a draft of it, then it would be like a draft change to an untranslatable field, but you make a draft of a translation, and it would change a value in a place that is not really a draft because it's a shared field across all the translations, and the other translations are not drafts. So it could cause a lot of problems when combined with workflows, content moderation workflows. So obviously we don't want to lose the feature of being able to share values between translations, because that's very useful. But it gets very painful if we try to support having this feature with workflows and then still allowing you to edit values in all of your draft revisions that may change your live revisions. So the default behavior here is if you share the text between translations, then the experience for content admins at least is like this. So I created an article and I translated it to Hungarian. So my article would have a title, body, all of these regular things here. And it would have tags, and it says all languages, because whatever I change here applies to all languages. So if I add one more tag, then it will add one more tag to all translations. So even though I saved this English translation, it also applied to Hungarian. So if I go to this Hungarian translation of the same thing, it also has yet another tag, because this this field is shared between all languages.
So far, so good.
Right, so that's a good feature. But then if I also have content moderation, which I haven't yet enabled here, and I make a draft revision of Hungarian and try to add another tag, then that would also try to apply to all languages and cause all kinds of problems. So the proposal is to try to limit that to one of the languages, the original language. So to hide shared fields on translation forms if you use workflows. And it also has a description that basically describes the same as the label. That this will prevent editors from changing field values shared among translations when editing content translations.
This will prevent editors from changing field
values shared
among translations
when editing translations, content translations. So basically, it hides the shared fields.
Yeah, you can touch. Okay, yeah.
So when I check this box, that's the only change I made. What happens then is I go back to edit my English thingy. And it has all the things because this was my original language. It has tags. It doesn't say all languages anymore, although it's still all languages. So that's a bug, right? Because it still applies to all languages. So if I add even more tags, save this, that will still apply to Hungarian. So if I view it in Hungarian, it will have the one more tag that I just added. But if I edit Hungarian, it will not have any of the shared fields. It will not have the tags field either, because that would apply to all languages if I would change it. So if I now make a revision of this, a draft revision, then I can only change the things that actually only apply to this translation and not to everything else. Another bug is you can still upload an image file, although that's also kind of shared between different languages. And another bug is there's several things here that are not shared between languages and should be shown, like the published and promoted and some other fields, the URL alias. So this is definitely a problem that hides the whole thing, the whole sidebar.
Indeed.
Because you have a bunch of things that are per translation in this configuration, like the URL path alias and whether you promote or make it sticky. So that those were translatable fields.
But there are bugs in the implementation of the proposed fix.
That's a bug in the patch. Yeah, that's a bug in the patch that's being proposed. So as per the configuration, promoted and sticky are still translatable, so they should be still shown on the translation form, but it's not shown for.
So the approach is that we're preventing people from messing things up. Basically.
Yes. Yeah.
So we remove access to stuff that might mess it up.
Yep. And we don't really tell them because, like,
no, that's the one thing on this Hungarian translation. Maybe we would need some indication that you might be missing stuff because.
Yeah, maybe. So you just say that we should maybe provide a message or some element or form element, or what do you mean?
How?
That the form knows at least that there's all those hidden things because it's removed from the form.
Right. Isn't this sort of similar? Because we've talked and designed for shared fields before. I'm rambling, but I can remember that we discussed on whether we even want to show shared fields. And we discussed showing them, how do you say, uneditable. How do you say? Yeah. So we display, but
Disabled.
Disabled, right? But Is that this issue or is that?
That could have been a similar issue, yeah, or maybe this one.
Have you called out the issue number yet?
Yeah, so the issue number is 2878556. And there's actually a better use case explained here for the problem. So what this says is, so you edit the translation, include a change to a non-translated whatever, creating a new default revision, and then revert that revision, and then the translated fields will revert, but the whatever you changed in the global, the non-translated field will not revert because you changed it in the other language.
I think I'm thinking of the first related issue there. UI telling you field is changed.
Yeah, that one, yeah. Yeah, that's certainly a problem. This all languages thingy. Yeah.
Okay, we didn't finish that one.
Oh no. This is still ongoing. It's also a concern for the whole sidebar where you like have this create new revision all languages. It's like very small and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've had some ideas, but we haven't gone through with this. We've had some styling ideas and then stopped.
And just for my understanding, how does the previous issue differ from this?
So this basically, the problem is that when you're editing, so this
drafts and stuff.
This just does not allow you to edit those things that are shared, because when you edit something that is shared, it makes changes outside of this language.
Yep.
And then when you revert to that language or use self-draft, etc., so whatever workflow process you applied, then it will have unintended consequences outside of this translation. And it's a nice thing that it's shared because you don't need to enter the same data 5 times for 5 translations. So that's a good feature. But yeah. And if you are a translator and you don't have content admin access, then you would normally see the same form anyway. You would not, just because of permissions. There's a different permission to translate, and there's a different permission to edit. So there's edit translations is a different thing from administering content, right? So you would, if you only have permission to edit translations, then you would not be able to edit all the fields.
Angie is wisely very silent. So what do you need?
A nice drawing, though.
Yeah. Multilingual.
Fun stuff. Sorry, I was in email land. I love that. I'll have to screenshot that. It's beautiful. All right, so I have to admit I was not completely paying attention. I know the general problem that we're dealing with. You do have a specific question for me, though?
No, not a specific question. I think so. What I think about the proposed approach of just preventing people to edit stuff that might mess things up sounds like a good approach here. The only thing left open or to be decided or optional. So we have this Hungarian translation of an article that does not show the shared tags. Do we want, and some other stuff, do we want to somehow show or call that out in the UI is what I'm wondering. Do we simply not show stuff, or do we say, hey, you might be missing stuff because...
So we could certainly, it should be easy to put a message up here. Is like there are some fields that are only editable in the English version of this content or something. Yeah.
I think makes sense. I think it would help because where's my fields? Ah. And if there's a link to the original in that message, we provide a way out, at least. An actionable step to either change or add to those tags.
Yeah, let's try the use case that they have here. So we don't hide the field, and we have tags, and that's entity reference. So it conveniently matches the use case. So Hungarian, and so we add this final tag. I'll save this. And then, so that's the revision I just created. And we revert this Hungarian translation to here. And so we still have the final tag because that's on the English version, right?
Right.
So we tried to revert it, but it was on English because it's shared and it's stored on the English.
And then the source parent, how do you call it? The original language version is boss. Is leading in what you get. Okay.
Yeah. So we added the final tag from Hungarian because when I unchecked the option introduced by the patch. So we made a change to English from here, and then we tried to revert it from here, and that didn't work because it's a shared field.
Because right. And the English version is still published, or it's not about published.
Yeah, it's not about published here. Yeah.
No, it's just because it's available on the English. Okay.
So
is that weird? No, that's showing that shared fields work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah, I would say
that's how technically it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah.
So try to restore this to however back we want to the original Hungarian version again. It would still have all the tags, even though I definitely didn't have all the tags when I started before the meeting. This was 5 minutes before the meeting even started. It still has all the tags. So that's the problem that we are trying to solve here.
so.
Okay, so
Anything else with the message? Message? I think making. I mean, and then there's bugs, right, with the sidebar, etc. But that's relatively clear. What the expected behavior is. I guess it's an informational message, so it's a blue one, I guess.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I will put that on the issue.
Okay.
So that's that. So you want to take the next topic?
I can. Let's see. Right, DrupalCon Vienna. We had meetings, of course, and one of those was with initiative leads of several initiatives, and you can talk and browse at the same time. But one thing we came up with that what we think could help visibility and discoverability of the initiatives, and especially providing a place to give a clear entry point on what the initiative is about and how you might want, where you might want to go if you want to know more or even contribute. Because right now the top level entry point for initiative is either.
Hey Roy,
Yeah.
are you trying to show us something on your screen?
Yeah, I'm linking to stuff. I'm collecting my links. I'm starting the screen share.
Oh, okay, I was just because I still see your paper, so I was just making sure.
This one. And
sorry, didn't mean to go slow.
No worries. So what we have is /core/roadmap. Just to show what we have now, we have a roadmap page that outlines priorities for 8.5, the current development version, and then there's a list of initiatives, and let's say there's the media initiative, and right now we have in this overview, this sexy beast, where we outline media, we have linked to an overall roadmap, and this is where we immediately dive into the meta issues with lots and lots of sub-issues, lots and lots of comments, lots and lots of text. On this roadmap overview page, we do highlight the issues we're focusing on, but again, that's still moving people from this rudimentary overview to the issue queue. So one thing we thought about, and it's not necessarily a new idea, but could we have landing pages to be decided where they would live, but let's say based on that roadmap page we just saw, let's imagine we could link off to a nice looking landing page for each individual initiative. My task after Vienna was to come up with some ideas for it. So a basic structure for the content on it, and Ted Bowman in the nicest way reminded me that to do that. And 1 or 2 weeks ago I had some time to actually think about it. So we want to give more visibility and momentum to strategic initiatives. So for anybody who's interested to find out about it, what can we do? I proposed a content structure. Always useful to think about why, what, and how, and who. So what if we have a page that starts with the name of the initiative, ideally a nice looking image that captures the gist of what we're trying to solve. So we describe the problem, right? What's missing or lacking now, and we hint at what the improved situation could look like. Then we get more specific about what that means. So we list concrete objectives or outcomes, this thing, that feature, etc. And that could end with the link to the main plan issue we just saw, for example, for a media initiative. We would list the main players in the team working on it. To be decided who wants to be shown there, but there's initiative leads. We can list the team here and call out their role, describe their role. Of course, more people are working on this. Find them all in whatever Slack or IRC channel, and we could link to that Slack or IRC channel. So that's why, what, who, then how can you help, and then it's up to the individual initiative to decide how they want to approach this. But of course, we can always use more time and skills. We are looking for skill X, Y, and Z. Again, we link to the plan issues and the communications channels to invite people to join whatever chat rooms there are where they could introduce themselves or say hi and ask questions. And of course, there could also be the option that you represent an agency that is very much willing to help this move forward, but not in time or resources, human resources, but with money. And we would then provide, well, to be figured out, but we provide a place to, or a contact person for that person to reach out to, and well, take it from there if they want to sponsor people. So that was the main structure I proposed. Outline the initiative, outline what it just wants to fix, and what the improved situation would look like. List off some of the concrete outcomes. Link, well, outline who's in the team, and link to where you can go to meet them, and then how you can help. There's probably always more you could add, but this would be a good basic start, I think. Then I'll open the floor for feedback and questions later in a minute, but then I wrote some copy for it using the out-of-the-box initiative as an example. And this week I had some even more time, and then I basically reworked what we just saw for the media initiative as the meta issue. I reworked the meta issue for the out-of-the-box initiative to prototype what it could look like. So this is not necessarily the place or the URL this page would live, but of course this is a nice initiative because it has the nice visuals. But here's the out-of-the-box experience initiative. This is what it's about visually. This is the problem. No demo content, hard to connect the dots, etc. And we're aiming to improve that situation by adding sample content, well-designed theme. Then we get more specific, right, about what the outcomes and features will be. A food magazine, recipe, articles, sample content with a custom design team in an install profile. There's an initiative team list. I'm linking to user profiles here. And there's more people working on this. Meet everybody in the dedicated Slack channel. And there's the automatic invite to Slack here. Then there's how you can help. Here I'm linking to the 3 or 4 main sub-meta issue, let's say. So there's the issue for the actual install profile. There's the meta issue for the designs to become a theme. There's the meta issue for adding the example content. Again, join the Slack channel. Again, oh yeah, there's a core calendar for meetings if you want to. I left out a bit about sponsoring here because I feel I should leave it up to Keith to decide if he wants to open that opportunity. And this was a bit of text that was in the original issue that I didn't just yet want to throw away. So that's the prototype for a landing page by abusing.
That was awesome. To compare and contrast that with, I just wrote one of these yesterday. So here I can post in the UX channel 2926656. So contrast what you're showing with this, which is like a sea of links. Like I have the same information, right? There's like stuff we're working on, kind of the big 4 areas. Here's how you get involved. We meet here, whatever. But it's just way, like the format you came up with was way better.
Yeah, this is the required open source heading, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really like that a lot. Also, it's simple enough that we don't need the DA to do anything to do this. Like we can decide whether we want it in the ideas queue or we want it in the handbook somewhere or whatever. But like, the point being that none of this requires any fanciness except possibly like if we want to do fancy styles on the, like on your mocks, you have like a nice clear button with a dark background for join. Us in Slack.
Right. Yeah. That would be nice.
Like that might need full HTML access, but the rest of the stuff is like anybody could do this.
Oh yeah. Right. Oh, do I? What do you say? We add a CSS class to some link and then it would work?
I doubt it. It's going to strip out your CSS.
Yeah,
Unless you,
I figured.
and then if you use full HTML, then other people can't edit it.
Right. I know. That's right often. Yeah.
It like just becomes a whole rat's nest of pain.
Yeah.
But we can ignore that for now. Like, I'm just saying, like, you know, there's ways around this that don't involve having to ping the DA to write a whole system for making initiative landing pages. Like, this could be done by somebody on Drupal.org with any permissions. And if we want to make it a little fancier with the buttons and whatnot, then it just needs someone with full HTML permission.
Right.
Which there's many of them than people who work with the DA. So. Anyway, that was a long-winded way of saying awesome. That looks great.
Yeah, and it's a format we can start using for other pages.
Just real quick, you need to close your H3. Just the 3
Yes,
right
thank
now.
you.
Nothing like sugar surfing, HTML linting. And then the only other thing I kind of miss in this is, like, I would love to see pictures of faces of people.
Yeah.
So that's just me. But
No,
that would template harder to use. I don't know.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. Anyone else?
Yeah, it looks great. I saw one of the things that Angie's list was showing is there's more complicated initiatives where you have like this sub-initiative of the initiative and that sub-initiative of the initiative, each with their own top priority issues. So I would wonder, well, how would this apply? Like, would they have their meta issues for them, which is a next scary thing that you can jump into, or would those meta issues be similarly structured, or how we can help with that if we can?
I would, I don't know. Let's see, what do we have here? Several thrusts, right? Developing and finalizing plan for mobilization efforts. Right, so if we would shoehorn this in the structure as I proposed, and this, what I'm highlighting here, would be the meta issue where we link off to those, right?
Yeah, my thinking was I don't know, and we can discuss this. It's like a Goldilocks problem, right? It's like, so I don't want to list, I definitely don't want to list every single fucking issue because that's just overwhelming and horrible. So what I was trying to do is, like, under each heading, so say in your example, create experimental installation profile, list like the top 3 things or whatever that are like important issues to unblock or places we need architectural review or whatever, to call those out so people don't have to dig like 1, 2, 3 levels deep before they find that stuff. But it is a Goldilocks problem because it's like, how do you, like, yours right now is very clear because it's 4 things. That's the only thing that Finish is doing. But I just worry that it doesn't surface enough, like the style guide issue or whatever, you know, whatever the thing is that's like the current place where all the action is happening. Is not clear from. And maybe that's fine because maybe we want that sort of implementation detail a level lower anyway by design. But
yeah, here it's pretty clear. My assumption is that it's clear that installation profile is not clear for people who don't know what an installation profile is. But this is the backend stuff, right? This is the theming stuff, and this is the content part of the initiative. But we can look into, this could still be a big link, and maybe we'd have not list 8 items, but have up to 3 sub-issues we link off here, and then we can look at that.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Like, my thinking was like how we can help, like, this section would be not evergreen. It would be something that's updated, not maybe every single meeting, but maybe, you know what I mean? It would be like, you know how you said like patch spotlight way back in the day, and there was like a where it was like, this is the most important thing to help with right now. if we had a section like that in these 4 initiatives where it's like, if you want to help, this is the most important thing to work on right now.
Mm.
Somehow represented here would be useful, I think. And we've done this in other ways in other initiatives. Like we used to use the sprint tag for like multilingual and HTML5. And that was like, right now we're working on, say, template conversions. That's the most important thing, even though the initiative as a whole is also involving all these other things.
Right.
So I don't know if that's a separate section or if it's part of how to help. Or
No, I would think that we could have the big links I have in my out of the box, and this could be a link, but it doesn't have to be a link. And so create the theme based on the designs. Here's the theming bit. Here's the view modes, the styling bit, and here's the whatever bit. We could do this, and then it's optional if this heading is its own link, yes or no. Can you follow?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then so and then and then it grows, of course, because that heading is not enough, and then we have to explain what we mean with the heading before we list the issues. So, but yeah, we can have sections like that. Yeah, and if we could limit that to a top 3 actionable per section like this, then we would still have a manageable page that I would link to the main bits, and you can dive deeper from whatever link you choose.
You know, we need like collapsible field sets, like boop, and then it like, you know, like what's this about? Oh, that's about this. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because hiding stuff is right. So that's that was the landing page idea. I can look into showing pictures, but I probably would need to hack with tables there, and then I know you're great at tables, but I'm not.
Table-based layouts, that's vintage shit there, right?
Yeah. So we have to do one check here. Does
I don't know. I think is there? Should we just?
Ooh, no table-based layouts for you.
Should we maybe as a next step, like if you're good with it, like should we maybe as a next step post to GDO core that we're proposing this as an initiative template and we want feedback on it from a wider group of people, and then maybe try in a couple of weeks like button this down to an like actual like thing we document in the handbook is like, do your initiative things this way, like
right. Yeah,
a bit more internal.
I guess we have to decide where we want this to live, right? Because now I'm hijacking an issue in the queue.
Right. Well, back in the day, we used to have this section. I don't even know if it's this anymore. Yeah, it used to have this section called Community Initiative. Oh, look at that. It's still there. We used to have this section called Community Initiatives. And these were handbook pages.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find an example. Like, none of this has been touched in ages. So I don't know about this at all. But,
Let's have a look. Community initiatives, stuff like.
I'm trying to find one that is sort of like what I remember. Anyway, this is the closest to what we had back in the day. It's kind of like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the D8 user experience one, maybe.
Yeah, let's look at that one. Wait, is that a one?
I'm looking at this one.
Anyway, the point of this was to kind of like have a place where anyone could create a plan in like one spot, you know. It's kind of like what the ideas queue is these days, or, you know, except this is alphabetized, and, you know, if you can ever find this section of the handbook, then it's a lot more straightforward to find things than, you know, oh, it'll be somewhere in this queue of 1,500 things.
Yeah, I mean, these handbook pages would be linked from the core roadmap page, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there still empty slots in the handbook? Can we still add?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Are there still empty slots in the handbook? Can we add new pages?
I think so. Well, I think we would want to archive this whole section and maybe start this again.
Yeah.
Initiatives, but call it something else like core. Fucking, I don't know.
Right. So that's something to hash out, right?
But I think that's.
So do we prefer handbook pages? I think so, but
I don't know. The reason to prefer handbook pages is A, in theory they get better SEO. B, they don't float around constantly like trying to figure out where they, you know what I mean? Like they're always the same place they always were. In other words, like you go to the jump off page for initiatives, you're always going to see views in that list. You're not going to have to be like, oh, is it on the first page of the issue queue or the second page of the issue queue?
Yeah.
You know, that stuff. So I like it from that point of view because it does feel like documentation. It feels like,
certainly,
you know, this is what we're, yeah. There's also two other pages we should talk about. So there's, this page looks really rigged up right now because of the sidebar. But this is the strategic initiatives page, which is a much shorter version of what you're trying to achieve here, which is basically just like, here's a screenshot and a tweet-sized blurb, and then here's a link to one issue that kind of captures the overall.
And it has a DrupalCon banner, so everything gets squeezed.
Yeah, so it cuts it all out. But maybe if we did sub pages off of this page, except I don't see a link to add.
No, we don't have. We don't. Oh, that's the thing. The new handbooks do not have hierarchies. There's only a flat one level.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, I don't know. I just know.
We saw.
Not the issue queue.
Yeah.
I just.
So that means that the community initiative handbook has not been migrated yet to the new system. That's why we're.
So that's why that's still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate.
Wait, are you saying the new handbook system is flat?
Yeah.
The navigation is flat at each level, but you can have handbooks within handbooks.
No.
What?
Yeah.
They've removed that ability, it seems.
No,
I know book module works that way, but I'm saying whatever they've done with the documentation on Drupal.org, it doesn't work that way. Like if you go to any page.
UI standards is a develop. Right, so there's one level, right?
How did that happen? Different jump off things.
So there's radio buttons, right? Okay, so we're now in develop, user interface standards, radio buttons. So maybe there is.
Yeah, I think you can do some.
There's clustering, but.
I'm pretty sure you can have handbooks within handbooks,
right?
Although you never see the navigation nested.
You're right.
But can we as mere mortals do that ourselves? And more importantly, not us, but like initiative owners who are not also Drupal.org.
If they are a maintainer of a handbook, they should be able to do that, I think.
That's
right.
How it goes.
Yeah.
Need to be maintainer of a handbook.
Okay. Well, that's straightforward then.
Right. I maintain the installing Drupal 8 guide.
Okay.
So some information architecture bits to, well, we can write those up, right? And but what I hear is we want to do a core group post to get feedback on it.
Maybe. Well, okay, here would be my suggested order of operations. I think
Yes.
one, just internally, I'm using internally in air quotes because these are public meetings, but internally, let's iterate on it for another week or something. And also get a reference example posted to where we want things to end up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like your one about out of the box initiative, let's get that in the actual handbook and figure out where in the handbook that's going to go and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then secondly, and maybe we'll revisit this again on next meeting with any further updates, and maybe there'll be more people on that meeting to give additional feedback. But because I feel like I already, like, this is a review for me. It's like, oh yeah, right, that's cool. But a lot of people didn't even know we worked on this. You know what I mean? So I'd love to see a little bit more outside opinions, but like friendly outside opinions. Maybe. And then I think get the initiative page, the initial one for out of the box in the handbook so that people have a reference implementation to look at. And then we do a GDO core post that posts to that, you know, both the example and the issue. So people can take a look and then chime in with their thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The one thing.
And then some amount of time, and then make it so.
Totally makes sense. I glossed over the. You could also sponsor this piece. Do we want to leave it out for now? Because
not necessarily. So we have a meeting with the DA. When is that?
Because if we call it out, we need to have a sensible link there, right? A trustworthy link, or some kind of pattern for how to reach out if you want to sponsor. Okay,
so on December 7th, we have a core plus DA team meeting that's intended to like escalate things to the DA that we need from them.
Yeah.
And so we could talk to them at that time about what, if anything, to put in there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. There is an issue about fundraising opportunities. Am I going to be able to find that in a hurry? Probably not. It's in Drupal.org customizations, I think. Because tip or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. And it was something the DA was definitely not opposed to doing. They just kind of wanted a plan for it before they implement anything, which is fair enough. If I find that, I'll post it to the channel.
Yeah, so let me paste a link to the idea issue for these landing pages, and then could maybe add it there. So yeah, sounds good.
Okay. But yeah, anyway, Roy, that looks fucking awesome, and I love seeing it with an actual initiative as like a test case, you know, like makes it come alive. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, there's the link to the idea issue for it is in UX chat.
Yeah, I agree. It's very good.
Hey, good morning. Hi there. Cool.
All right.
So
I think we're at time, so that's a meeting.
We're at time. Yeah, that's a meeting. Nice one.
Time, man. All right. See you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you all. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.